The green M&M, you will notice, is no longer wearing sexy boots. Now she's wearing sensible sneakers. Why the change? Because leading women do not wear sexy boots. Leading women wear frumpy shoes. The frumpier the better. That's the rule. The other big change is that the brown M&M has, quote, transitioned from high stilettos to lower block heels. Also less sexy. You wouldn't want to have a drink with any one of them. That's the goal. And actually, if you look at him, the orange M&M does appear very anxious. Maybe he doesn't like all the ugly new shoes he sees around him. Maybe he likes the sexy boots. Maybe the orange M&M is a secret sexist himself.
1984 is a book that everyone loves to reference and act like they read, but no one really has. It is a book about the dangers of overbearing governments and the evils of totalitarianism at a time when people like Hitler and Stalin were in power. It was written by George Orwell in 1949 and received a film adaptation in the year of 1984. The book follows a man named Winston who works for the Ministry of Truth. His job is to alter the news to meet what Big Brother wants it to say. His job consists of altering newspapers to completely eliminating people from ever existing. Winston doesn't agree with the way everything works, though, and finds a journal he can write his thoughts into. This is a massive issue, though, as this is what the party considers a thought crime. He has to write in the corner of his room where he can escape the giant TV screen with a camera in it that is always on him and watching. These TV screens can be found everywhere, allowing the party to always be watching you no matter what, like your laptop webcam. We also are shown a daily event called the 2-Minute Hate. The people crowd into a weird dystopian theater room and are shown propaganda. The 2-Minute Hate shows a revolutionary leader against the party, named Goldstein, trying to persuade citizens that the party is evil. The people disagree, though, and scream at the screen, trying to drown out the voice, because the party is always right no matter what they say. They could say, for example, 2 + 2 is 5, and people would still believe them. The reason the propaganda is shown is to show that the idea of revolution has been defeated, that there is a common cause against people thinking things like that and what he says, and reaffirming that the party is always right. Winston eventually meets with a girl named Julia that initially he hates. He believes that she is going to rat him out to the thought police for his overuse of free thought, and even plans on tailing her until they find a quiet place and bashing her skull in with a piece of cobblestone. It is revealed, though, that Julia is actually in love with him, and the two meet in a forest clearing. They have a secret romance for the following months in an old room that Winston rented out from the store he had bought his diary from. They share many philosophical discussions on the party and enjoy an array of luxuries like quality coffee and even simple things you wouldn't think of, like white bread and jam. The two eventually make an agreement to never betray each other. They decide that while the party can control their actions and words, they can never control their actual feelings. I hope it really works out for them. After a while, Winston is met by O'Brien, a powerful man who he suspects to be working in Goldstein's rebellion. He is offered to come by O'Brien's place so he can lend Winston his copy of the new Newspeak's dictionary. Winston begins to suspect that O'Brien is really trying to give him a copy of Goldstein's book on how to overthrow Big Brother and indoctrinate him into the rebellion. Winston and Julia then seek out O'Brien and explain what they would be willing to do for the rebellion, which really consists of everything but separating. They are told they are going to receive a super-secret rebellion handbook in the not-so-distant future and tells them to leave. Then Hate Week rolls around, an event littered with propaganda and bombings from enemy countries designed to further reinforce the hatred for the enemy. The problem is, though, that they are now at war with someone entirely new, leaving Winston to have to rewrite years of history for 5 days straight to undo the previous war and show the world that they were never at war with them to begin with and were always at war with someone else. Winston does manage to get through his work, though, and goes back to his antique room with Julia. The two spend the night reading through the book entailing how to overthrow a regime until they fall asleep. They are suddenly awoken, though, to the shocking revelation that the little picture on the wall was actually hiding a TV and camera. The two were monitored entirely since the first day they came up to the little antique room, and the party knew about every single thing to begin with. The thought police break into the room Rainbow Six Siege style and arrest Winston and Julia quickly. The two get dumped into different cells, and it's shown that Winston's co-workers were also arrested alongside him. Then O'Brien comes in and is like, "Psych, lol, was working for the thought police, I've been an imposter the whole time," and only then did Winston realize how hard he got trolled. The prisoners also keep getting sent to a fabled Room 101, which I can only imagine is a magical place filled with only the finest goodies in the world because of the screams of joy and the utter excitement on the faces of all who go there. Winston is then sent to a torture chamber to get confessions out of him. They then begin to cure him by gaslighting and girlbossing him until believing that all of his memories aren't real. Eventually he gets so gaslit he even believes that the 4 fingers that O'Brien is holding up are actually 5 fingers simply because he told him so. After this, O'Brien revealed that he, in part, wrote the Rebels' Handbook for the purpose of weeding out people who would potentially want to overthrow the party. He explains that Winston's perception of reality isn't real and that the party is in full authority on what reality is. Winston disagrees, arguing that they will be shut down eventually, but little by little his arguments fall until he complies. He is locked away and actively searching for rehabilitation so he can fall in line like the rest of the brainwashed people he lives among. He starts to actually eat and sleep, though with the lights on, and he starts actually living like a human being. He's doing super well with his rehabilitation, but suddenly cracks for a moment when he starts thinking about Julia. Because of this crack, he gets sent to the land of hopes and dreams that is Room 101. The idea behind Room 101 is that it is the single worst thing in the history of anything. The room is designed to use the worst fear of an individual and break them with it. In Winston's case, he has a terrible fear of rats, so they strap him to a chair and attach a cage of rats to his face with 2 floodgates in it. Winston starts freaking out and after a while, feeling deeply afraid, begs them to do this to Julia instead, thus betraying her and breaking the promise he made to her. Guess that promise didn't actually work out. After that, though, he is now a free man who gets to sit alone in a cafe and do chess puzzles. He does eventually encounter Julia again, but it's obvious the two could never fall in love with each other again, since the two betrayed each other in Room 101 and meant it genuinely. Winston is okay with this, though, because he finally gets to live a normal life with no intrusive thoughts, and despite definitely going to get shot someday, he's living comfortably. Moral of the story? Totalitarianism bad, communism bad, too much control is bad. Don't just let people tell you what is and isn't true. Think for yourself and challenge ideas. 1984 is a remarkable book that I feel like everyone should read in their own lifetime, as it's definitely a perspective opener. I could rant on and on about the importance of this book and whatnot, but it just hit 6 minutes in the audio, and it's 11:30 p.m. right now. I plan on sleeping, so I'm gonna end it here. Please give me an A. Bye.